They're all saving one, or most of the Hampshire fielders are saving one. Somerset need one run. It's Edwards to Hildreth. He's there and bowls Hildreth, and he gets the run away through the onside, and Somerset have won. They've won the Royal London One Day Cup.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. Joining me this evening, I've got Dan Kingdom and the new president of Somerset County Cricket Club, Peter Wanless, confirmed at the AGM on when was it, last Wednesday? I'll turn that off now. I don't know if you can hear, but I was playing Hail to the Chief there. So, Hail to the Chief, how are you doing, Pete?
That's very good. What an honour. Extraordinary privilege. Thank you very much. Did you know that there have been 30 presidents of Somerset County Cricket Club since we were founded in 1875? I feel one of Dan's sort of list quizzes coming on to see how many people can name. There are a fair number of Somerset megastars, as well as some very, very obscure names on that list.
Oh, I think I can name 3. Roy Kerslake was president for a while, wasn't he?
A long time. Yeah, he's probably there.
Brian Rose and you. So yeah, that's my 3. If you can think of any more without looking them up, listeners, pop them in the comments. Anthony is desperately trying to connect from France at the moment, but he's having a few technical issues, so he might pop in if and when he's able to get connected. But we'll start by looking back at 3 T20 games in the last week, 3 Blast games, 2 losses and a win in that thrash up at Sophia Gardens on Friday night. But if we start with Surrey, you were there, Pete, and we were so close to get to the last ball for the win in a game really that we had no right to even be in the contest of at halfway.
It was an amazing night out. I mean, firstly, to struggle through the lack of transport to get to the ground.
Oh yeah, rail strikes.
Then to watch. There was only one moment through that whole game when I thought we were going to win, and that was the last ball when they needed to get 4 off the last ball, and I actually thought for the first time we're going to win this, and then we lost. But I must say that at that moment, I mean, the team sort of collapsed to the ground. You could see what it meant to them. I mean, I did feel really proud of the effort that they put into it. The bowling and the fielding in the second half was stupendous, almost to the point where you forget how brainless some of the early batting was. So it was a fantastic game, great advert for the game. I was with some folk on the Surrey committee, and they were saying, both in the county championship and in the T20, you Somerset are the best side that we've played. So there was a little bit of kind of consolation at the end. Heroic failures are us. We find extraordinary ways.
If only Division 1 was decided by the opinions of the Surrey committee, then we'd be all right, wouldn't we?
We would. Yeah, I think they'd put us through and be very happy to play us in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see that. I was at horse races on Monday night. I was sort of keeping an eye on my phone. The wicket alerts just kept pinging through. And by the time I got home, I did see that incredible finish. But Peter Siddle has kind of justified his selection over Marchant de Lange, who came in for him for those first few games. Dan, should he have been in from the start, do you reckon? And what did you make of Tuesday? Tuesday, wasn't it? Tuesday night at the Oval.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because no one was quite certain if de Lange or Siddle would play. Initially, I thought they would both play. Then we signed Russo, so obviously it could only be one of them. I think initially we wanted to give Siddle a rest, didn't we, after the championship, which is fair enough. And de Lange, he's got to do something at some point. So we felt, I suppose, that he deserved a run. Plus, he gives us, a point of difference in the attack. And I think he didn't do too well in his first game, but then he had a couple of good games. And then 1 or 2 other bad games, and then Siddle came in for Bristol, didn't he? Which we thought was maybe dictated by conditions, but he's stayed in since, and justifiably so. I think he can bowl any time. I think if you look at when he bowls for Adelaide strikers, he can bowl at the power play, middle overs, and at the death. And for us, it's mainly been sort of power play and death, and he's done a really good job. He's actually it's quite rare for Somerset in recent years in T20 cricket. We've actually got a death bowler who is fairly reliable. He's not obviously he hasn't come off every
more
time.
reliable than Jerome Taylor.
He had the odd highlight, didn't he? But Siddle was reasonably consistent at the death. It's great. He conceded 9 against Surrey, which obviously we lost the game, but it was still a brilliant over. A 9 you usually take at the death in the final over. And he bowled well against Glamorgan, he bowled well against Gloucestershire. So Siddle was definitely justified playing ahead of De Lange. And now I'm wondering whether De Lange will play for Somerset again. I suppose in September, when Siddle and Renshaw are gone, that might be the one final chance for De Lange to play for us. But yeah, I think it's works fine, Siddle playing and not De Lange. So I think it's useful to have De Lange as an option if Siddle picks up a niggle or something. But no, he's been seriously good, Siddle.
Yeah, I mean, we did mention it previous podcast, but De Lange's economy rates were 3, 5, and then 10, 13, and 14. So he's really either feast or famine, really, isn't he, old Marchant? But yeah, I mean, in terms of the batting performance, I mean, it was Tom Banton at the top of the order coming back to a bit of form that he followed up against Hampshire, and then Lewis Goldsworthy, who is batting at what was he batting there today? 10, yeah. So 27 off 19 balls got us up to a respectable score, and then didn't play against Hampshire. Dropped for George Bartlett. Was that injury or was that just selection? Because
I think we wanted to give Bartlett a go because he's been in good form for the second 11 in T20 cricket. Plus, he scored some runs against Sri Lanka development 11. Yeah,
it just seemed pretty harsh on little Lewis because he got 27 off 19 towards the end, got us up to a reasonable total. I think he bowled pretty well at Care, a couple of overs to 15 as well at the Oval's, not too bad. But then dropped, and then Bartlett comes in ahead of. Well, he definitely came in ahead of Lammonby. Who else did he come in ahead of against Hampshire? Gregory as well.
Yeah,
chewed up 4 or 5 balls for 2, and then that really kind of set us back in that run chase, and we never really recovered for it. But what was it, 208 we were chasing that game, and yeah, magnificent 100 from James Vince though. I mean, I was there. I mean, that over where he just took Gregory apart it's just phenomenal. He's a class player, and it's strange to think that a guy like that can't get a game for England because he's just. You can tell he's a quality player. Well, the first game back after COVID, when we were playing Hampshire down there, De Lange was bowling with a bit of heat that day, and everybody else was kind of sort of whoosh, playing and missing. But Vince just looked like he had all the time in the world. And what did he take us for in the end? 129 off 62, and we were in a reasonable position in that game at halfway. But runs wise, we only had 1 wicket there. We'd only taken 1 Hampshire wicket, but yeah, he just took us to the cleaners. I thought we were in control as well, but then Abe's just played that ramp shot, and then it kind of all went downhill from there. Pete, did you watch much of that one?
I watched it on the stream, and it as someone who never thinks we're going to win again, I did think about 15 overs. We had this sewn up, and then there's been a lot of comment, hasn't there, about the batting order that folk came in on, and I don't know. It felt that was 2 games, both of which we were in touching distance of winning, and maybe more likely to win that Hampshire game than the Surrey one, actually. And yet we ended up with 2 defeats, and then of course everyone starts getting really depressed, like we're never going to win again, and we're not qualifying, all of this. And we're still, I think we're a really good team. We bat a long way down. There are a whole lot of players that at different times in the season have got us out of a hole or played really well, and at some point it's all going to come together and we're going to really click. So I'm still feeling sort of good about it, but yeah, I can see why folk were feeling a bit unhappy at the end of that, because we nearly chased down a pretty big score.
Yes, I think it was 7 for 27 we lost after Abel was out in the first ball of the 17th over. Anthony's arrived. Let's admit Anthony. Here he comes. He's on mute. Is he going to unmute himself? Bonjour, Monsieur Gibson. Comment allez-vous?
Bonsoir.
Nous sommes recording maintenant avec Pierre et Daniel et nous discussons le jeu contre le Hampshire last Thursday.
Right, good, excellent.
We were just really chatting about. We just got to the stage where we were talking about another Somerset batting collapse, 7 for 27 after Tom Abel got out first ball of the 17th over, and we never really stayed in the hunt after that.
We should have won it, really. What was it? 47 needed in 5 overs with 8 wickets in hand. It was sort of headless chicken time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it shows how much we, Lewis Gregory, I can't make out what's happened to Lewis Gregory. I mean, he played that really good innings against the Gloucesters, but he's just looked completely out of sorts with bat and ball, apart from that.
Yeah, I mean, after Abel got out, nobody else got going. Bartlett got 2 off 4, Gregory 3 off 4, Lammonby 2 off 4, Green 7 off 3, Roloff was out second ball for a blob, and then Peter Siddle run out for 1 off the last ball. So, I mean, if one of those gets going, you're probably going to win that game. But when you have a kind of a collective failure like that, it's really difficult. So, I don't know. Did you have any other thoughts on that? We did discuss Vince's 100. What a class act he looks. What did you think of that, Gibbo?
Oh, he's a very, very good player in all formats. It's just it's one of those, a bit like Mark Ramprakash, it's a mystery why he's never done it for England. I suppose the off drive that he hits in the air is the big part of the explanation. But he's a really good batsman, and he's a really good captain as well for that Hampshire side. And I thought Hampshire were more than the sum of their parts last week, and I thought Somerset were a bit less than the sum of their parts. It really wasn't a good performance with the ball as well as with the bat. We let them get 20 or 30 too many.
Good stuff. And how many times did you discuss the birthplaces of the various players with Kevin James that day? Was it?
Well, as our mainstay in T20 cricket is Riley Russo, born in Bloemfontein or somewhere. I don't feel I'm on very solid ground there anymore.
Fair enough. Bloemfontein, that's just outside of Ilminster, isn't it? Oh, anyway, yeah, that was I was on Sky Sports that game. Did you weren't there, were you, Dan? Were you watching that on?
No, I couldn't make it back to that one because of the train strikes. But watched it on Sky Sports. Yeah, I mean, similar thoughts to what you've all already said, really. I think my theory with Bartlett is it's very similar to in 2018 at Canterbury. Tom Abel came in and we needed a lot of runs off not many balls, and he was promoted ahead of Lewis Gregory. And it didn't work, obviously. And the explanation for that was basically to give Tom Abel experience, and and I'm sure he did learn a lot from it because he obviously since then has really improved as a T20 player. So I think it was the same with Bartlett. They said, right, we know that they knew that Gregory and Lammonby were better options at that point in time, but they said to Bartlett, "You're in good form. We're going to give you a go. This, now or never. It would be a good experience for him, and he could learn from it, whatever he did. And obviously, he didn't do too well. So, yeah, I mean, he didn't play obviously the following night. So whether that's the only time he bats for us in T20 this season, I don't know. But I think they just wanted to back him, and with the theory that hit out or get out kind of thing. And unfortunately, 2 or 4. We'd all much rather we got none off 1 than 2 or 4 because those 4 balls sort of just kill the momentum a little bit more. It's one of those ones which I wouldn't have done that. I think we've got to focus on winning matches, and Bartlett was not the best option to maximise our chance of winning the match It was probably Gregory to keep the right-hand, left-hand combination at that point. He should have come in next. So that was a mistake, for sure. And yeah, we threw that game away, really. I mean, 47 off 5, it's almost 10 and over. You know, that's not easy, but it's pretty easy. You'd expect us to do that. So it was disappointing. But yeah, just one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, Abel only got 13 off 10, but when he and Russo were together, I thought, well, if these two stay together, we've got this in the bag. And at no stage during that run chase watching it did I feel that we were behind the run rate or that we were up against it. But yeah, Abel played that funny little reverse ramp, got caught short third, and then that was it. It was just a procession after that. But Riley Rousseau again that's the only score he got in the 3 games last week. But boy, did he look good! And Tom Banton looked in pretty decent nick as well. Good to see him back amongst the runs. I think the reverse. I don't know. They keep coming up with these shots, and they need to name them because. The one that Abel played against Worcester, the one where he kind of reverse served it over the wicket-keeper's head for 4, that needs a name. We've discussed that to death on this podcast about what that one's called. But the one that Banton played over third man, just reverse flicking it, that was an incredible shot. And the power he got on it as well, just flicking his hands like that, was absolutely amazing. Watched Will Smead as well. He got 43 off 27, but I don't know what you thought about watching it there live, Anthony, but he didn't really look in any form to me.
I think the opposition have worked him out a bit. You know, he's very much an onside player, and they bowl good length outside off stump, and he keeps wafting at it, and not making contact. You know, it happened. It happened at Cardiff as well. He wasn't in for very long at Cardiff. When he was in there, he played and missed about 4 or 5 times outside the off stump. You were there, Dan. I mean, it was. What did he get? 3. It was a pretty inglorious 3.
Yeah, 3 off 5. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, somebody needs to take him in hand and turn him into an all-round batsman rather than just a leg side slogger, which is what he's becoming.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it seems harsh on the lad because he's only 20 to sort of start picking him to bits. But this is now where he just needs to kind of, like you say, work with somebody, work with Lachlan Stevens or Trez or whoever, and just develop the next stage of his game. Because if your reputation is that you can biff it into Rose Head if it's a long up on your leg stump, well, you're not going to get very many of those. No. You know, these bowlers they have got a few brain cells between them, and they will work you out pretty quick. So it's just a challenge for him to work on his game and take himself to that next level. One thing I wasn't impressed with on Thursday night was the quality of the commentary team that Sky sent down. It was very much the B team. I know they had a test match going on, but we had Robert Croft, Charles Dagnall, Dominic Cork and Niall O'Brien. I think the 4 of us could have done a better job than them, to be honest.
I'm not going to criticise fellow commentators.
Without saying something which will trigger a great number of listeners, I'm sure it really gets me when Niall O'Brien seems to really enjoy referencing which players play for which 100 franchise. Which I don't think anyone really knows or cares about. But every time he does it, I feel like taking another swig of Thatcher's or whatever, because it's almost like they've been told, drop in these references to the competition which will not be named.
Yeah, he trots out the same old cliches over and over again. The big fella loves it. He's got him. He's a great this and that. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I nearly lost a child into the churchyard as well because they were desperate to go and look for the ball that Will Smead top edged over us in Gimlet Hill. I thought I was going to get a crowd catch for a minute, but it just sailed over. So I lifted my little girl up. She got a bit less grumpy, Gibbo, when I bought some sweets. So we popped to see Gibbo, and
he was tired, poor little thing.
She'd fallen asleep in the car, bless her, and not quite woken up. But funny enough, when I bought her a bag of candy floss from the concession stand outside the Colin Atkinson Pavilion, they perked up like it was like nobody's business. It's amazing that I was all ready for I was all ready for a fight as well. Well, not a fight, but when they both needed a wee, I was going to think, right, well, I'll take him into the Colin Atkinson Pavilion as a member, as my little daughter is a member of this club, and I was fully expecting the steward on orders from the... Cover your ears, Pete. On orders from the Gestapo of the committee. I'm only joking too. I said, "Oh, you're not allowed in here, sir." And I was that ready to go. "I, sir, I'm a member of this fine club, and you will admit me and my daughter to use the facilities." But he just waved us straight on through, so I didn't get to have that.
Children's rights very important to me. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, of course. But yeah, £6.50 for the worst cheeseburger I've ever had as well. But I had to buy it because I was absolutely starving. But that wasn't from a club-owned thing. That was from the...
I'm going to give a shout-out to a very helpful and friendly steward. I don't know what his surname is, but he's John, and he looks after the car park. And when I turned up last Thursday night, the car park, the staff car park, where I'm supposed to park, according to Spencer, was full and shut. So I rang up Spencer and said, "What am I supposed to do? There's nowhere to park." He said, "Well, go to the Priory Bridge Road entrance, the Vivian Richards gates, and I'll meet you there and we'll see what we can do." So I did, and there was John, and he recognised me. He said, "Oh, come on in, Mr. Gibson, we'll find a parking space for you. Don't you worry at all." So shout out to John. Thank you, mate. It's the most helpful parking steward I've ever met at a cricket ground.
Oh, well done, John. I mean, as someone who's not, I think, well, you always get the train down. Pete's got his own presidential parking space now. I'm the only one who has to... Now they've closed Firepool, I'm the only one who has to drive around Taunton for about 45 minutes looking for a bloody space. Cannon Street's a lottery. Managed to sneak it in Viridor on Thursday night, but I shouldn't be telling people that because that's kind of a little secret. People get... the less people that know about that, the better. Oh, anything more on Hampshire then? It was very much what might have been, and then we moved on to Cardiff on Friday night, where unbelievably in South Wales it pissed down most of the day. We did get a 7-over thrashing, and it was quite reassuring to see that we managed to get a batting collapse into a 7-over game. And then what did we finish on? What did we finish on there? Yeah,
75.
Yes, 75 after being 15 for 4 off 2.2 overs. But then if you flip that round and think, well, you've got to bat the last, I don't know, what is it? 3.4 overs with 6 wickets in hand. You generally take that, and yeah, what a night for Ben Green. Green Army.
He played really well. Oh, Dan was there. Dan didn't tell you about it.
Yeah, I mean, first I was surprised he was ahead of Roloff, and I was saying, like, why are we doing this? Roloff has 48 or 15 at Gloucestershire earlier this season. But no, yeah, 2 4s and a 6, can't complain. I think after that start, obviously Banton and we obviously 7-over match, surprisingly, found the time to regroup, and it worked. Abel and Lammers took a few singles before sort of unfurling the bigger shots, and I think they just reeled in the expectations. I think at first we were targeting like 100. I think they sort of realised on a slightly slower wicket that actually 70 to 80 would be enough, and so yeah, they hit. We only hit 3 6s, so it was 3 6s and 7 4s, which was enough. They had to chase 10.5 and over, and yeah, they never really got going. I mean, Ingram hit a couple 6s in the first over, but we bowled a lot of dot balls for a 7-over game. They couldn't even retake the strike, let alone score boundaries for most of their innings. And only Ingram actually passed 7. Yeah, all the bowlers bowled really well. They all got a wicket except for Van der Merwe, but Van der Merwe bowled a very good over, and the required rate just spiralled throughout the innings. Really, it was just a really poor performance from Glamorgan, and you think they'd be sort of used to that pitch, those conditions. But I don't know. I remember saying this last year as well when we played them in T20. I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't watch Glamorgan enough, and I don't want to criticise them. It just seems weird they're not better in their own conditions, because they must be used to it by now. It is obviously more unusual ground dimensions, and it's fairly spin friendly wicket, I think, isn't it, compared to most in the country, and it's fairly slow. But yeah, they don't seem to have that much success in T20 on that wicket. But yeah, overall brilliant.
I think they misjudged it, Dan. It was the third time they'd used that pitch. And the last time, Morgan got 216 on it, but I think it was third time unlucky. in terms of the quality of the pitch and the way they batted on it. And I agree with you. I thought they were poor. I didn't think we had nearly enough 75 because I'd been listening to what Nick Webb and other people have been saying about the quality of the pitch. But it turned out to be more than enough, and I agree with you about the quality of the bowling. They were all really, really good. And halfway through our innings, I was praying for rain. Saying the best thing to happen now is dirty great big cloud comes over Cardiff and we get a point out of this. But it turned out really well. It was a good comeback, and I've rarely seen. I mean, Tom Abel was really, really chuffed afterwards, and Ben Green likewise. It was good to see Ben, who is such a good cricketer, but he's a bit of an unsung hero, and he hasn't really established himself, certainly in the red ball side, and the question marks against him in the white ball side as well. But it was a really, really top class performance for a player who he seems to relish the big occasion. Semi-final against Hampshire on finals day last year when he really, really came to the party. So yeah, it was a good win. I really enjoyed it. In the end.
Did you catch much of that one, Pete? I mean,
well, I was relieved having made what turned out to be an 8-hour round trip from home to Cardiff to watch the game, that we actually got some cricket. And I was a bit torn. Yeah, there was a moment when I kind of thought maybe it should rain, but in the end, 8 hours for 14 overs of cricket. It was time well spent, and likewise, I thought that thought 75 wasn't enough. The scores have been quite low at Glamorgan, apart from the game that Anthony mentioned. So I had a little bit of hope, but when Colin Ingram's in, you never quite know, because he can go a bit mad, can't he? And the sixes he did hit were really big, but no one else really looked like doing anything in particular. And after from about sort of 4 overs onwards, they were nowhere near, and the whole game sort of petered out in the end, didn't it? And it kind of finished, and everyone looked at one another. It's over. We've lost. And there was this great big sort of football crowd of Glamorgan fans who've been singing throughout.
Sorry, did you say there were a crowd of Glamorgan fans there, Pete? Where were they sat there? Because I couldn't see them.
Well, they were quite noisy. Yeah, they were more than I expected to see there. Yeah.
Oh, it looked pretty empty from where I was. Well, where I was sat, looking at it on the stream.
Well, it was pretty empty. It was still pretty empty, but there were some singers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed to me that they just couldn't get Ingram on strike. That was, he's your main guy. He's the guy who's going to win this game for you. And as you said, they just couldn't find the ones. We put a lot of dot balls at them, and he ended up 37 out of 19. And you think, well, if he's faced maybe 10 more balls, that game's going to be a lot closer. But yeah, I agree with you, Pete. After sort of with 3 overs to go, you think, oh, this is it. It's not quite all over, but you felt so confident. Almost by default, you think in a 7-over game, you just got to get a tight finish automatically. But it just never happened. I mean, the recovery by Abel, 26 off 14, Lammonby 18 off 9, and Green 17 out of 6 balls didn't seem like they were slogging it or just playing the big shot at the wrong time. If you know what I mean, I know you've automatically got to play the big shots with an over to go in a 7-over game, but it just seemed controlled and planned, and they knew what they were doing. And if you look at the bowling figures as well, Craig went over for 12. He came back out of the England squad to play for us. Sids, 2 overs, 1 for 16. Ben Green, 2 overs, 2 for 13, and then an over apiece from Roloff and Josh Davey going for 8 apiece as well. So, in a 7-over game, only one of your bowlers going at 10 and over. That's fantastic. And a 16-run margin of victory. Possibly
Josh Davey was hit for 6, the first ball he bowled as well.
He was, yeah. So I remember that.
So he bowled the other 5 for a wicket and 2 runs. That's good stuff.
Possibly the greatest performance in Somerset's history.
Well, certainly the greatest performance under my presidency.
Oh, absolutely. I think they call that a segue in the trade, Pete. Go on then. Well, I mean, just one more thing before we go on that. I think 7-over cricket's the future, don't you? We don't need 20 overs. We don't need 100 balls. God forbid, we don't even need 5 days. 7 overs, that'll do. Oh, and just one last thing on that. What is with this weird rule where if it's between 5 and 9 overs, you only need 4 bowlers? No, if it's 6. Go on, Dan. Dan's got his. I can explain this better than you, Faye. So go on, Dan.
Between 5 and... So it's weird, yeah. The rule changed a few years ago, and it's sort of... But there hasn't been enough matches yet for it to permeate into the consciousness where this has sort of happened. But basically, it used to be that if it was a 7-over game, it would be 5 bowlers... So it would be 3 bowlers can bowl... is that right? No, 2 bowlers can bowl 2 overs and 3 bowlers can bowl 1 over. But it's kind of changed. So between 5 and 10 overs, it's just bowlers can bowl a maximum of 2 overs. So for a 5-over-a-side match, you theoretically only need 3 bowlers. So it's 2 to bowl 2 and 1 to bowl 1. So then it's like 11 to 15 is maximum of 3 overs per bowler, and 16 to 20 is maximum of 4 overs per bowler. I'm not really sure that it simplifies things, and I have no idea why it was changed. I think it was 2018 was the first time it came in. There was a Western Storm game that year at Taunton, where I was extremely confused because Storm only used 4 bowlers in an innings, and I thought that Heather Knight got her calculations wrong, or the umpires had messed it up or something. But no, it turns out that Heather Knight was just very aware of these new rules. So yeah, no idea why it changed, but it's been a thing for a few years, and I think as it people just have to get used to it. I think people, yeah. Well.
The only reason I can think it might be is if, for example, the first innings is shortened by rain, you might have been able to bowl your better bowlers for a bigger proportion of that first innings, if you like. So you might have got away with bowling 2 guys. So let's say it's 10 overs, you might have got away with bowling, let's say 3 bowlers for 3 overs and 1 bowler for 1 over, for something like that. And then if it rains, maybe it's just trying to replicate that into the second innings. I don't know, but it that's the only reason I could think. Anyway, Pete, the greatest performance under your presidency, which started when?
Wednesday night, after item 10 at the annual general meeting. Final item, yeah. So
many congratulations. You'll be a great president, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. I mean, as I said on the evening, it's the sort of role which you don't go looking for. It comes to you. I mean, I applied to be a member of the committee, and in the process of going through all of that, the club said to me, would you be interested in being nominated as the president? I'm going to be incredibly presumptuous to imagine that for a second, but, what an extraordinary honour. So I said yes, and then had to face this rather kind of... it's not quite the accountability of going out to bat for Somerset, but to be on a voting slip where it's, do you approve of this person, yes or no, is fairly brutal. But the results were kind of akin to a sort of North Korean election, and pretty much, high 90s for all the...
So you're more Kim Jong-un than Emmanuel Macron then?
Well, no, I definitely wouldn't say that. But,
vote Wanless, the only choice.
It's an absolute privilege, and as I said on the night, it fulfills a boyhood ambition to come in after Brian Rose. Perhaps not the way I imagined. I would come in after him, but nevertheless, it's lovely to be able to follow him. And my only sort of regret really is that my mum and dad are no longer alive, because they were both huge Somerset fans and members from back in the day, and I was taken to Somerset from when I was an embryo through to it's in me completely. I was apparently named after Peter White. My brother was named after Graham Atkinson. There are all these stories which I think do appeal to quite a lot of the members. The more stories you can tell that are sort of pre-1970, the more I think they will trust you to look after the club, and that's my sort of ambition for the role, is to do everything we can to secure elite cricket in the heart of the West Country, and do everything we can to make sure that when people come to watch that, it's a fantastic experience. And of course, there are all kinds of issues and tensions and worries and grumbles on the pitch and off the pitch. But the president can be a sort of someone right in the middle of all of that, who can act as the kind of conscience for the deep values of the club. So that's what I want to do. I want to help us understand and remember what it is that's special about this club, and try and make sure that as many decisions we take as possible are consistent with that deep kind of passion and commitment and sense of engagement that all of us, have enjoyed as a consequence of being associated with Somerset. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And so far we've played 2, 1-1 and lost 1. And none of that's got anything to do with me whatsoever.
Oh, congratulations, Pete. I'm sure you'll be a fantastic president for the club. So are you allowed to go in the dressing room and give them a bollocking after play then?
Probably. I think you've got a roving ability to get involved in as little or as much as you want to. That's probably not where I'll start. But yeah. As I was saying before,
do you have to go to all the away matches? Do you have to go to all the away matches?
So I go to quite a few of the away matches. I go to more away matches at the moment than home matches, if truth be told. I've still got this really big kind of full-on day job, which is an issue and a challenge. But by having a title and some responsibilities at Somerset, there's an opportunity to balance that a bit more now. So I'm expecting to be present at more cricket. I mean, would it be a waste, wouldn't it, to have this role for 3 years and then spend my time sat in the NSPCC Audit and Risk Committee? So yeah, I'm looking to my team around me to kind of step up and release me to fulfil important ambassadorial and representative duties at a number of grounds around the country.
Oh, great stuff. But you're still not willing to release your email address to Dan for any concerns you might have about how the club's being run? You'll just have to keep. You just have to keep emailing. Put my teeth in. Keep emailing Gordon Hollins, Dan.
Oh, I've got Gordon's address. So
Gordon's the one with the authority, and of course the new chair of the committee. So Michael Barber is an absolutely brilliant man, and I think he's going to be an extraordinarily important and influential chair for the club, not just in terms of what goes on in and around Taunton, but as someone who commands respect and will be listened to at the ECB. He has got a great kind of address book and is going to be a real asset for the club. In many ways, that's a kind of more important appointment because the authority and the power is with the chair and the committee. He's the one who gets to vote on the future of the game and this sort of stuff. So the president will see what he can do to get Michael onto the podcast at some point.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Any leeway with scrapping the 100? Is that on your on the agenda?
I knew you were going to ask that.
Well, I'm just saying, if Michael Barber can just write to the right, could we scrap this bloody 100, please, and go back to playing some proper cricket and spread the game instead of concentrating it in 8 cities? Oh, we all know what our opinions on the 100 are.
When he spoke at the AGM, so he made some introductory remarks on being appointed as the chair, and he said what you would want to hear from him, that 4-day and 5-day cricket is the pinnacle of the game. It's the format of the game which tests skills to the extreme, and that's what we want and need to cherish, which isn't to say that other formats of the game don't have value, and we shouldn't, as a club, seek to do really well at all we engage in Taunton. But fundamentally, we're all in the same place, which is that we want to win the county championship, and we want the county championship to mean something, and we want to produce players who go on to be really successful for England, ideally with Somerset, but if not, like Jamie Overton, maybe with someone else.
Oh, great. So anything else to report from the AGM then, Pete? It's on YouTube. I've still not watched it yet. I've not got round to it, but
well, it was as you might expect. There was we had everything from why isn't Brian Close's CBE on the honours board in the long room, to why can't more maverick individuals be on the committee, which was an ironic question to raise, actually, because now there is much more scope to have a real kind of diverse mix of skills and perspectives.
Quite sure we want a maverick
on the board. No, you want a group of people who think differently, though, don't you? To challenge one another. No, a maverick may have connotations which wouldn't be altogether helpful. But
we're back to Top Gun call signs now, aren't we, Quantox?
Yeah, no, I'm not Quantox. I'm Cider Man.
Oh, Cider Man. Sorry.
And there was a lot of discussion about the financial realities facing the club and the challenges of where our income comes from, and that we don't want to be totally dependent on ECB and TV handouts. We need to generate income from other sources, but we have to balance the generation of that income with the support or experience, and that isn't always, the balance there isn't always struck. And you can see in some of the kind of tensions and discussions going on at the moment that that's where there's some more to be done. But I thought, maybe I would say this, the club did a very good job at laying out why money matters, and you can't be blind to the need to generate income if we want to survive as a successful club on and off the field. But that mustn't be at the kind of fundamental expense of having a good day out when you come to Taunton.
No, but the last two things you said there are quick wins in that respect. Having a day out and generating income. Well, put cricket on at the weekends then. ECB.
I did say that. That if your drivers are to have really good cricket and a good customer experience, we need more of it to be at the weekends and in the middle of the summer, and be of a really kind of high class. So it's a
no-brainer. I mean, the 100 aside, get cricket on at the weekends in September, especially when the club season's finished. People can go watch it. Games should be Saturday, Sunday, no exception. Having a midweek it's nothing short of a disgrace, to be honest. And just going back to what you said about having, generating revenue. I'm being interrupted by one of my children here. Yes, Theo.
I just wanted to come and say hello.
Oh, hello, Theo. All right, are you going to bed now?
No.
Did you enjoy the cricket on Thursday night?
I don't know.
What did you think about that shot Tom Abel played to get out? Do you think it was mistimed, or do you think he did the right thing?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it. Arsene Wenger there. Right. Are you... Oh, he's going to sit and listen. That's my weekly rant about cricket not being shown when people can go and watch it. Fantastic. Right. So we've done the AGM. No county championship game for Somerset this week, but the women's test has come to Taunton. Heather Knight won the toss, inserted South Africa. This is me playing for time while I look up the score on my phone without realising that Dan can probably give it to you verbatim.
You give it, just said it, 284.
284 all out, and somebody got 100, didn't they? Marizanne Cap, 150. Great to see the women's test down at Taunton this week. You're not able to make it down?
No, unfortunately not. As it's all on weekdays, I haven't got enough leave to go and see it. It's
what?
ridiculous.
They're showing cricket on cricket's being... I'm getting a sense of deja vu here.
I mean, I'm guessing this match would have been played the weekend coming, but because of the rescheduled India test, that's being played then instead. And obviously they don't want this to... Yeah, I understand they don't want this test to clash with a men's test, although it has had a clash today, just the one day. But the schedule is so packed that I don't think there's any other time they could possibly have played it, unfortunately. But it just shows that they don't really prioritise women's cricket that highly when doing the schedule, unfortunately. The India test was scheduled before this test. So if they thought about it when they were scheduling the India test, maybe they'd have found a way to get this one on the weekend as well. Who knows? But really disappointing. But it's been a interesting day so far, hasn't it? I think England have evolved really well. They got the new ball bowlers swung it a lot in that first session. Lauren Bell was quite impressive. And Izzy Wong was impressive from what I saw as well. She took her maiden wicket. Alice Davidson-Richards took her maiden Test wicket. Bell got 2 wickets. None of the South Africa batters really, the second highest score was 30. It was only Cap who really sort of got in and scored big runs. The rest of them sort of got in and got out, really. But you can't blame them too much, of course, because this is South Africa's first Test since 2014, I believe. And obviously they don't play the format regularly. I mean, England don't play it regularly, but South Africa play it nowhere near as regularly, clearly. No country has domestic red ball cricket at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, a good day, I think.
Yeah, and Western Storm start the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy up at Loughborough on Saturday.
They do, yeah. So it's quite. Well, yeah. I mean, we were talking about how the lack of weekend cricket for Somerset, but the Hayhoe Flint Trophy is mostly on Saturdays. So if people are feeling starved of Somerset cricket, they should check out the Hayhoe Flint Trophy schedule, because there are opportunities there for to go and see some matches on weekends. There's only one game at Taunton, but there's also a game at Bristol, there's a game at Cheltenham. They're all Saturdays, I think. So yeah, definitely worth going to. Definitely worth going to. It's good quality of cricket. I'm excited for the tournament. I think Western Storm, I think they'll have learned from last year. They sort of finished mid-table last year, helped by a couple of wins towards the end of the season against sort of the sides lower in the table. With Fran Wilson as an addition compared to last year. And I think the lack of, no one will have England players for this tournament, so perhaps it'll be a slightly more level playing field this time round. It should be interesting.
Split by the 100, isn't it? So you got the first half, then you got the 100, then it finishes off in September. I think the game at Taunton is September the 10th or September the 11th.
It is about that, yeah.
Fantastic. So best of luck to Sophie Luff and the Western Storm for their Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy campaign. I suppose we better talk about England. They've had a good few weeks, haven't they? What I'm loving about this England side at the moment is they're playing this fantastic attacking brand of cricket. They're chasing down all these big scores, but we can still have a bit of a moan about the top 3. And I think that's great. That's a perfect balance. That pleases everybody. But two Somerset players, one Somerset player, Jack Leach, 10 for 166 in the match. Incredible. I don't think I've ever seen him bowl that well for Somerset or for England. And literally from ball 1, he was on the money and just completely unstoppable. And anybody saying, but Matt Parkinson should play, get in the bin. Is it now Jack's place for the long term, and it's up to you to come and get it off him? Because I think that was incredible. Everything that man has been through, the respect levels you have for him have just gone through the roof for me this week. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but Pete, in your new capacity as president, can we have a Jack Leach something at Taunton?
Yeah, so there's a special relationship, isn't there, between Leach and Stokes, and I think when you've got the trust and respect of the captain, perhaps that's just what Jack needed to relax a little bit and bowl at his best. It was just wonderful to see. So yeah, delighted for him.
Yeah, man of the match as well. I could just see that little twinkle being taken off that victory. I thought they've got to give man of the match. Jack's got 10 wickets at Headingley as a spin bowler. Oh, they'll give it to Bess, but they didn't. They gave it to Jack, and just fantastic. I mean, I don't know how much you saw of it, Gibber, with your travels over to France and that, but
I saw a bit. Well, I listened to quite a bit because, rather like Peter, I spent many hours in the car on Friday afternoon going to Cardiff, and I listened to the Bairstow Jamie Overton partnership. What great cricket that was, and how good to see Jamie Overton fulfilling his potential, even if he's had to go to Surrey to show what he can really do. But he's a West Country boy, born and bred, and we can bask in the reflected glory of his 97. What a shame it was he didn't get 100. But I feel a bit sorry for Craig, though, I have to say.
Yeah,
who's slogged away for England and bowled really well. And his brother comes in the first Test match. He gets 97. Oh dear. But there you are. I mean, they're both good, really great cricketers, and I was just so pleased for Jamie. And I mean, it's an unrecognisable England side from the one that turned down the invitation to chase a perfectly gettable target against New Zealand this time last year. And I give them every chance of beating India next week or later this week.
Yeah, I mean, one little tinge on it for me is, why couldn't we make Jamie this player at Somerset? Why did it take a move to Surrey for somebody to get hold of him and say, "Oh, shorten your run up and do this and that"? And
we had too many quick bowlers. That was the trouble. But there were too many of them. They couldn't all fit in the same side. And Jamie, to be fair, was pretty erratic when he, throughout.
yeah,
really,
I get that, and he was absolutely Yeah, I don't think anybody would question the fact that he was pretty diabolical for Surrey last year. Would he get 6 wickets at 80 odd or something like that? But seeing it was just, I don't know. Could we not have seen that and worked on that and got him to be that player at Taunton rather than losing him to a quote unquote bigger club?
Well, we were getting there. I think in 2020 he looked really good. This is after his move to Surrey was confirmed. But he bowled really well in the Bob Willis Trophy. And in 2019, I think he improved over the years. I think he was getting there. And for me, he left at the exact moment when he was actually a first choice member of the attack. And obviously he left and obviously really struggled last year. And obviously he's now in a mood to shorten his run up, and that seems to have sort of done the trick. What would have happened if he stayed with us? Who knows? I mean, presumably he changed something in 2021 which didn't work, and obviously he changed again for 2022. But yeah, who knows? What would have
to get me a can of Thatcher's Gold. Yeah, there's a can of Thatcher's Gold on the shelf. Now that's a 4-pack for me. We don't want a 4-pack. Thatcher's Gold on the shelf.
Shep, I'm going to have to leave you, I'm afraid. My phone is about to conk out. So.
Okay, no worries, Gibbo. Au revoir. Abby Anton.
Yeah.
Okay. Gibbo. Oh. Yeah, I mean...
Can I give you a second one?
No, I just want one for the moment. Thanks, buddy. That's okay, is it, Pete? I don't... No, I only want one. Put that one back. Thank you. Yeah, I mean... He's got 1 year on his contract left at Surrey. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. You know what I'm thinking, don't you? You've been to Surrey.
Why would you leave there?
Why would you leave Surrey? Pete, I've got a sense you're going to be involved in these negotiations, possibly next September or next October. Try and bring Jamie back to Taunton. Or is that down to Mr. Hurry?
I think I don't think I have a locus in all of that. But as I said, I can interfere and engage wherever I want and just see what happens. So I don't know. At the moment I'm taking views from supporters and members. So if it's very important to you to get Jamie Overton back, I shall endeavour to reflect that. But it's quite difficult for people to go back, isn't it, to places that they've left, especially when I don't know. Did he feel his ambition is undoubtedly there, and he's starting to fulfil that potential now, isn't he? So if you're him, you're bound to be thinking, well, did they see all of that? Exactly the way you're kind of questioning now. So it may be a bit of a long shot, though. Of course, it'd be lovely to get the band back together, Joss and everyone else.
Yeah, just the thing about Joss, because he's back from England, Tootie, now. He's back from the IPL, back from England, ostensibly a Lancashire player, but he's not turning out for them in the Blast, and he was playing in a charity game at Lord's on Saturday. I mean, that's a kind of a wider question, but that doesn't really sit right with me, does it? You should be putting back to the domestic game as much as you can.
He is essentially contracted, so the ECB control when he plays, but I do have a feeling that it's more his decision to not be playing at the moment. He's not played for Lancashire yet this season, but every other player who played in the IPL and then the Netherlands series has played some county cricket sort of in between the two. Livingston played for Lancashire, in between the IPL and the Netherlands series. It is a weird one. I don't know. I mean, obviously he's got a young family now. That might be part of it.
But that's the thing. He was going off to Lords to play in this charity game with Makram and a couple of others on. I think it was something to do with JP Morgan. So he's obviously away for that Saturday. I know you haven't got to go through all the, the other stuff that you do for a professional fixture, sort of warm ups and team meetings and blah 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 and that sort of thing. But I don't know. It just something about that just didn't kind of sit right with me. It just felt a little bit wrong. But.
We can ask the Lancashire members how they feel about it, can't we, when we're up in Southport in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, if it was, say, for example, I don't know, Tom Banton, who could have gone to the IPL and then could potentially have been away with England and then thinks, well, I'm not going to play, but I am going to go up to Lords and have a knockabout in a charity game. I don't think that would sit very well with the members, but from what I gathered, Josh hasn't. He's now taking my 4-year-old daughter a can of Thatcher's Gold. Look away, Pete. Look away. But from what I gather, Josh doesn't have the Lancashire members don't have a great deal of fondness for Josh anyway, do they? From what I kind of hear. So anyway, moving on. Right, what else have we got to talk about? I think we're done. Should we pop and see what our good listeners have fired through? We've done nearly an hour, so we better be quick. Righty-ho, let's go for... yes, people are now thinking that Josh Butler should be opening the batting for England in the era of Bazball. I'll show you Jason Roy as a prime example of why that's probably not a good idea. But go back to what I was just saying previously, actually, if you want to keep a batsman to replace Ben Foakes, who was ruled out with COVID during the last Test match just gone at Headingley, would Josh Butler have probably been a fit for Bazball? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. They could have pulled up Josh again, but Billings did well when he played in Australia, and maybe Josh has privately retired from Test cricket, or privately said that he wants to stop for now. Maybe he's privately said that he'd rather not play Test cricket at the moment and take some time out. I'm not sure really, because he's as you say, he's a prime fit, not as an opener though. Obviously, I think that's a bit of a mad Michael Vaughan idea, and I think Kumar Sangakkara was talking about it as well. I mean,
we're taking it a little bit too far. But Sam Billings was called. Who's Sam Billings play for again? Which county side?
Yes, so I've got a soft spot for Sam Billings. Don't say that in front of Mr. Tancock. But I think he deserves his chance, actually.
Well, Zach Crawley's had a bit of a torrid time, and he's been included in the next Test match squad. Which county does he play for again?
Mm-hmm.
I think it begins with a K, doesn't it? Isn't it the same county that the new managing director of England cricket used to play for?
He could replace Crawley with Compton, couldn't he, and still have a Kent person?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Pete. That's probably a much better shout than keeping Crawley going, because he looked like he didn't know which end of the bat to hold against New Zealand the other day. He was sort of hit out or get out, which is kind of not really what you want from your opener. But I suppose when you got Bairstow coming in and bashing 71 or 44 balls at will just to see off these what would previously have been considered monumental run chases with ease, England cricket's in a pretty healthy place at the moment. Andy Cleve, in response to the bagful that Simon Harmer got, is Chelmsford the new Hyderabad?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not only that. Liam Dawson took 3 wickets yesterday, and today Liam Dawson took 7 more wickets. And I think the other 3 wickets in that innings fell to Felix Organ, who's also a spinner. So there has been a lot of wickets to spin in this match, and not a lot of talking about it on social media. Because, none of us have a problem with wickets to spin, a lot of wickets to spin in a county championship match, I'm sure, because we've all been used to it at Taunton. We've all defended the Taunton pitch. It just is a bit odd, though, that other pitches don't seem to get the same amount of scrutiny.
Dan, there have only been 30 wickets fall in the first 2 days of that game. If you're not up to speed with what's been going on here at this is Essex versus Hampshire at the Cloud. Well, it's not called the Cloud FM County Ground now. It's just called the Cloud County Ground. So wickets to spin. Who have we got there? Yeah, Dawson 3. Organ didn't get. Well, this is the first day. Yeah, that's the only wickets to spin. And then we've got Simon Harmer 8 for 46, and then Liam Dawson 7 for 68. Felix Organ 3 for 57, and then Hampshire 35 without loss in the second innings. So, I mean, can we get Ryan Tedescarter to report that pitch? Is that how it works? Is he seems to be the only one that the ECB listens to when it comes to this sort of thing, or can we have a collective, some sort of collective arrangement? If we all email the ECB asking them to have a look at it and dock Essex points and make us 2019 county champions, does that work or not? Oh dear! I think the answer to your question, Andy, is definitely yes, but it's not polite to mention that because it's not Taunton. And one from John Hayes. Great to see Taunton hosting the Women's Test match. Is the standard good enough, and how do we make sure that it is entertaining enough to draw commercial sponsorship? Has the 100, boo, given the game a quantum leap?
For the women, it has, yeah. The 100's been good for the women, but it's just whether or not it could have been done with a souped up KSL. We'll never know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with the question about the standard, it's almost you've got to invest in it to get the standard up. You can't just sort of say, well, just keep playing the county setup from a few years ago and then we'll just hope that you all get better. And then it's good enough to put on TV. You can't do it like that. This is never going to happen. You've got to promote it, get it on TV, invest in it, invest in coaches, invest in the new domestic structures to get the standard up, and then it's on TV, and then you see young women and girls watching it and thinking, it's what's the phrase? If you see it, you can be it. And just get that level of engagement up, get the participation up. So yeah, you can't just wait for it to be good enough to put on TV. It's just not going to happen.
And you want to see competitive cricket, right?
Yeah.
You want to see a great game. It's the same sport, but it's also a different sport. So I think it's great to have Test cricket available on the doorstep to get along and watch. Incidentally, another really great thing about probably the best thing about the AGM was Tom Abel and Sophie Luff both spoke so articulately and clearly and honestly and with real kind of passion about the game of cricket and about Somerset and about the privilege of playing at Taunton. It's fantastic. We're so fortunate to have two ambassadors like them who are so steeped in the area. So yeah, we need to get Sophie needs to get into the England team, doesn't she? And then everything will be fine.
Yeah, they bleed maroon and black, those two, and I don't think anybody can disagree with that. What else have we got next? The best up and coming players we are most excited to see in a Somerset shirt. That's from Dan Warner as well. I think James Rue's time is going to come sooner rather than later. I saw him on Thursday night, actually. He was just wandering around with his, what I presume was a few players from either his school or club side. Wasn't sat up on the balcony or anything. This is pathetic. I'm 42 years old and I was too starstruck to say hello to a 17-year-old. That's ridiculous. Come on. But yeah, we all know about the trio of young fast bowlers. I think they're all going to have a really good one-day cut. I think Sonny Baker's more or less back to full fitness now. We've got old Ned Leonard, Casey Aldridge, James Rue, and I think those four are going to have be the backbone of the one-day cup side, with assistance from hopefully James Hildreth, Steve Davis, and a few other senior players. Not missed anyone, have I, Dan?
But in terms of youngsters, they're the ones that come to mind. Obviously, there's George Thomas as well. He obviously had a good debut last year. I'm looking forward to seeing some more of him. There's a good crop coming through, that's for sure.
Good. From Sam Shane, this is a good point, actually. In four-day cricket, Gloucester and Northants are batting and often better than Somerset and Kent, which suggests it's going to be a tough battle to be out of the bottom two. So in the current round of four-day games, Northants got to 451 all out against Warwickshire. Perennial topic of this podcast, Ricardo Vasconcelos was out for 5, so That probably means we're definitely going to sign him now. Gloucester 337 all out, although Lancashire 226 for 4, so it looks like they're probably in a good position to overhaul that. And Kent, well, they conceded 673 for 7 against Surrey, and they come 147 for 2. But yeah, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to just wait until September, beat those two sides, and get out with the bottom two. I think it's going to be really tough, and we're going to have to start putting some results together, starting up at Southport in a couple of weeks' time.
You want another soda?
Sorry,
that is true. I don't think it is going to be easy. On the other hand, we got a great bowling attack. I'd be, famous last words, but
yeah, I won't write that down, Pete. I won't minute that. But yeah,
also the team's going to be a bit different. We're not going to have the Australians in September, are we? So that's a big topic of conversation at some point in the future.
Well, I think in the near future, I think we should possibly be looking to the senior management of the club to bring in a temporary, well, not a temporary overseas, a permanent overseas for September. I mean, I don't know anybody in the senior management team of the club. Dan, do you know anybody in the senior management team of the club that could, get on wherever you need to go to sign overseas players and sign an overseas player for September, preferably an opening batsman and a bowler? Anybody in the senior management team of the club that we know we could do that, Pete? Who knows? Andy Hurry, that's what I'm thinking of. Come on, Sarge. Right, get somebody signed for September and get them in and put all of our collective minds at rest. And I think we had one more from Ollie Slack, who reads, question, does the signing of Pepsi, who kept wicket in Yorkshire's last blast game, mean Bance has decided to move on to a quote-unquote big club at the end of the season? And if so, should we give someone else a chance for the Championship for the rest of the season? Well,
Tom Abel was really interesting on Tom Kohler-Cadmore at the AGM. So someone asked Andy Hurry, how do you choose the players, and does Tom Abel have a say in it? And he passed that to Tom, and Tom spoke about in really interesting terms about Kohler-Cadmore's skills, character, development, how Tom Abel had been in his ear for a while, including over in Australia, trying to convince him that Somerset was the place to come and play his cricket. And you got it was one of those topics that, as I say, I felt Abel spoke really well about, but you also got a real sense that they believed that Kohler-Cadmore was going to add something really distinctive to the squad, not only in terms of his skills, but in terms of his character, and that's irrespective of the other players who might be in the squad. So based on what I heard there, I absolutely don't think there's any connection between what Tom Banton might or might not do and what Tom Kohler-Cadmore is going to do, because they've got a clear sense that he's adding to the squad as a batter who has got a bit more on the pitch experience in all formats of the game.
Yeah, the announcement of Tom Banton signing his contract extension is conspicuous by its absence, though, Dan. Do we think that's going to be done at the end of the season, or what's your gut on this one?
There must be something going on. We must have offered him a contract, and he must be must be undecided, I think. I mean, yeah, if he was staying, if he was certain about staying, he'd have announced that by now, I think. So we're just going to wait and see. His struggles since the start of 2020, I mean, he's not permanent struggles. He has had some good, he's had some highlights over the last couple of years, but overall he has declined a bit from 2019, and he might just think that a change of scene might revitalise his career. But yeah, who knows? It's just speculation, isn't it?
Yeah, so our players out of contract at the end of the season, just if you want to have a little think about that, we got James Hildreth, Jack Brooks, Max Waller, Ollie Sale, George Bartlett and Tom Banton are the homegrown players, and then obviously all of the overseas are out of contract at the end of the year, as is the way those things happen. So Bartlett, Banton and Sale are interesting ones, because Sale hasn't made a first team appearance yet, apart from with a camcorder. Bartlett again has just made the one first team appearance, and Banton, who you think is a player that we want to nail down, hasn't put pen to paper yet. So, I mean, potentially we could see all three of those going out the door.
I would really look to keep Bartlett. I know he's not played most of the season, but he's still a player with potential, particularly in county championship cricket. And if I was Somerset management, and he's trying to make his way as a one-day player, but I would be trying to convince him, just put all your eggs in the red ball basket, and he could become a fixture in our side for years to come. But is he being affected by trying to do both, trying to make his way in both red and white ball cricket? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about it before. He kind of looks stuck between two stools when he's batting in both forms of the game, although he's found a decent bit of nick in the last few games in the Blast. But yeah, he always just seems to be fighting his instincts.
I'm talking about Bartlett.
Right, I was talking about Banton.
Yeah. Oh god, no! I'm not saying Banton should put his eggs in the red ball basket. Oh no, Bartlett should put his eggs in the red ball basket. I think. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. I think we're done for listeners' questions now. So we got what have we got coming now? We got Middlesex up at Lords on when's that one?
Friday.
That's Friday, and then we finish off the Blast campaign at home to Surrey on Sunday, which is at a very weird time of 6:30 in the evening.
I assume because of the test match, most of the matches are then, and one will be televised. I'm guessing that's the reason.
Yeah, it is a bit weird though, isn't it? I
think it's good. It's annoying. It's very annoying for me because I've got to get a train back the following morning and take the following morning off. But it is good that the Blast will finish after the day of Test cricket is finished. Because if the Blast finished that afternoon, it would be overshadowed by the Test. So. That's the way I see it. Yeah,
I suppose. But then I'm talking about I'd like to take the family up, and they both got school the next day. So by the time you get back from Taunton at a 6:30 start, it's getting to be sort of 11 o'clock by the time you get home. So it's.
Yeah, I see that.
Then we're straight into the quarterfinals the next week, aren't we? And some of those are in the midweek again, and we may not know if we're home or away until the last minute, and all of that. Let's not talk about the fixture list again. But again,
we could do another 4 hours on the fixture list. Please, Dan, get that email out. Come on, get that email out. Yeah, I think we could all agree at the fixture. Well, I do like the fact that the Blast is being played in a block. So if you're gonna go with that, if you want that, you're gonna have to kind of accept that the quarters are going to be, pretty close to the end of the group stage, and I think most fans will kind of have had one eye on those days, and would have kept things flexible to maybe go to the games on one of those days. So that's as long as the dates are there ahead of time, I think you're kind of okay. But I don't know. Anyway.
One more thing though, I've just looked at the schedule. Actually, 4 of the matches on Sunday start at 2:30 according to BBC Sport. So I don't know what's going on there.
Well, the club just put out an email today saying because when I looked a couple of days ago, the match was starting at 7:05, and now it's starting at 6:30.
Yeah, so ours is 6:30. There are 4 matches at 6:30 and 4 matches at 2:30 according to BBC Sport.
Grounds without floodlights, maybe. I think grounds have got floodlights now, haven't they?
Yeah, only Worcester hasn't. So, the others are at Derby, Leicester and Bristol. The other games at 2:30. So, no idea what the reason is for that.
Derby, Leicester and Bristol. So, you've got 2 in the North group and 1 in the South group.
Yeah, and Worcester as well. So, it's 3 in the North group.
Do you say Worcester or Gloucester?
Worcester. Yeah,
Worcester. Sorry, I thought you said Gloucester, yeah.
Derby, Leicester and Worcester and Gloucestershire as well, yeah. So, it's 3 in the North and 1 in the South.
Oh, right. That's all very strange. But then, we'll probably get an email from the club saying, actually, it's now starting at 2:30 on Sunday. Who knows? Anyway, who knows? Right. I think we're all done. Oh, just one thing. I keep forgetting to mention this, but August the 7th, Gloucester against Somerset up at the Unique Seat Stadium. It's the official Protest the 100 day. The Welsh Firemen are playing down the road at Cardiff against, the Nottingham Yellow Crisps, or, the Green Northern Southern Viper Chargers or whatever they're called. If you can, get yourself to Gloucester for Gloucester against Somerset on the 7th of July in the Royal London One Day Cup. Let's sell out the unique seat stadium. Let's keep Cardiff as empty as possible and show the ECB where the real fans of county cricket want to watch their players play. Do we have any other business, guys? I know it's only been about 4.5 hours since we started, so I think we've probably covered everything. I think we're now officially over the record for the longest ever podcast, about 1 hour and 14 minutes. So unless you've got anything else, I'm dying for a wee, so I'm sure we can call it a night for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Mr. President. Cheers,
guys.
Dan. And Anthony's probably tucking into a lovely bottle of rouge at the moment over in France and having some haute cuisine as we speak. But we'll catch up with you probably. We'll probably do Monday again next week. I think that sits quite nicely with the fixture list. So for Pete, Dan, and Anthony, I'm Ian Shepherd, and we'll catch up with you next time.